Well, guys, we are back for another episode of the Liberal Asshole Show, episode 134. And what are today's topics?
Revolutionary Blackout Network is anti-Jew. Massive earthquake tsunami affects Pacific. South Park hilariously destroys Trump. Mehdi Hasan destroys Nazis. Trump is once again a brain-dead retard. Shooter attacks the NFL. NFLPA corruption scandal. And Russo-Ukraine war update.
Actually, I think that brain-dead retard thing, I replaced it with something else. I must have forgot to take that out. Because I think it's like 7 topics in total. But of course, he's always a retard no matter what. So, what are we getting with first?
I think we start with the Revolutionary Blackout Network is anti-Jew.
Oh boy. So, of course, we've made fun of this idiot on this show for the last few years. Nick Cross from the Revolutionary Blackout Network. He's a channel that Harry, our former co-host, used to love and parrot all the time. And the guy is a blithering moron. He is one of those progressives, in quotes. I don't even know if he even wants to be called a progressive anymore. That, like, shits on the Democrats, like, at all times and all that. Wants to votes third party and all that. And doesn't want to do really anything to try and make the Democratic Party better, like we try to do. He just gives up on it pretty much whatsoever. And he shits on Dems all the time. And of course, because of 10-7, now he shits on Israel all the time, which is fine, which we all do. But he goes way too far in the other direction, to the point where he goes full anti-Semite. Boy, these tweets right here, which he posted a week ago, which thanks to Tanky Jerk on Reddit, I was able to find. Oh boy, this is a lot of them, and he went on forever. So anyways, according to him, anti-Semitism is not real. Good start, ain't it?
Yep, well that's a hell of a start.
So here's the first tweet. Anti-Semitism is not real. I'm not religious. The idea that I have to accept your goofy fucking Jewish stories about you being God's chosen people and accept the existence of your apartheid state is absurd. Fuck you. I mean...
Oh my god, dude, you're playing into the Zion Nazis if you conflate Israel with all Jews, you imbecilic fucktard.
I mean, if you took that out, a lot of it, this first tweet isn't really that bad. Like, we don't believe...
But that's also like saying, like, oh good, I've got syphilis, the best of the sexually transmitted diseases.
Yep, you just went way too far at the end, pal. Oh, jeez. The next tweet. I'm so tired of people legitimizing this stupid bullshit. I don't believe in your stupid fucking God. Stop trying to force me. Fuck you and your dirty apartheid state. From the river to the sea. Oh boy. Dirty apartheid state. You might want to be careful with that phrase with Jews, pal, as we know his story with that. And you probably should be careful with from the river to the sea. And there's a lot of different views on that one. That can go forever. But I would say be a little bit more careful on that. But knowing you, I think you have the more negative view on that term. So we gotta see about this so far.
Palestine is all they'll be to Israel is all they'll be.
And then this one gets even really silly. Fuck you and your stupid tiny hats. I'm allowed to say this because you are not God's chosen people and are not allowed to be critiqued. Trash people and trash culture. What does their hats have to do with anything, pal? That seems so random and weird. But then again, you're an anti-Semite, so I'm not surprised. Goodness. And calling them all trash? Would you say this if this was Muslims? Bet you would. You think
not, you would? Not unless it's a Western Muslim.
So yeah, you wouldn't. If someone said this about Muslims, that they're that they're dirty, they have stupid hats, they're trash people and trash culture, which by the way conservatives in America say about Muslims, especially after 9/11. Yep, you would not like that.
It's calling the kettle black there.
Yeah, you wouldn't like that. But when it's Jews, all of a sudden it's okay, pal. Yeah, sure. That's how ridiculous it is. Like, yeah, critique Israel. There's no and if you want to critique Judaism, that's fine too. But there's a limit to the absurdity, for crying out loud. This is just...
Don't fucking go out of your way to conflate them both.
Like, really, like, why did you bring up the hats for? Like, why does that matter? Like, big deal. That just seemed like so random. And then someone tweeted back to him, nah, man, this isn't it. I get you're mad at Zionists for weaponizing the word to block criticism of their crimes, but we should never conflate Judaism with Zionism. You don't have to believe in their God or their religious beliefs that have nothing to do with Zios. Which, right, exactly. Nice take.
Because remember, we have Jewish Zion-Nazis, Christian Zion-Nazis, and inexplicably Islamic Zion-Nazis.
Mm-hmm. And then he replied back, I'm not conflating Judaism with Zionism. I'm criticizing the state of Judaism. We are allowed to mention how 99% of Jewish organizations support Israel's genocide. That doesn't bother you? Judaism and Israel are not the same thing, pal. Sorry to break the news to you. Also, I didn't see the video yet, but David Dole just did a...
You fuckwit.
I didn't even see the video yet, but apparently Dole did a video today on apparently two big human rights groups in Israel. I guess
saw that.
I didn't see it yet. What happened?
There's actually been two pretty big Jewish led organizations that have actually admitted, yeah, the Netanyahu government is kind of committing genocide. We can't really deny that anymore.
Yep, can't wait to watch that. But yeah, come on, Nick. And then the guy replied back, sure it does. It also makes me sick that Muslim leaders would turn on their own people for profit from the Zionists. But neither of those things have anything to do with religions. That's just human greed and wickedness. Yep, true. And then someone replied, imagine telling people that racism against black people wasn't real because some other black people pervert the idea of racism against black people. Hey, race hustlers do exist. That doesn't mean racism for blacks doesn't exist in America. Then he replied, Imagine if 99% of black-ran institutions supported genocide, then complained about racism when they were criticized. That is the anti-Semitism hoax, and it's embarrassing you're justifying it. Yeah, that happens. That doesn't excuse the fact what you said is anti-Semitic, pal. And, yeah, this has been a thing on the last, 2 years almost since 10/7 Heaven. There are so many people. Unfortunately, I didn't want to believe at first on the left because I remember people criticized do you remember all the people that criticized Cenk years ago being anti-Semitic as he's the ultimate proof of anti-Semitism on the left. For a long time I didn't buy it because I thought it was so freaking stupid and all that. But it's kind of hard to deny it now. Although at the same time, are these people even really on the left anymore? They're contrarians pretty much. I don't even think they really care about Israel-Palestine issue if it was resolved. They would still complain about something. Oh my gosh. So yeah, these guys have been all over the place on Twitter in the last 2 years. It's become a Nazi-infested tampon, as I said last year. And this is just...
horseshoe theory.
Yep, definite horseshoe theory indeed. Which, by the way, Nick, we had to mention that last time we talked about you. You went full horseshoe theory. And once again, you've done it again. A second horseshoe theory. Tie them all together, people. Aligned with Nazis, apparently. So, yeah. What do you gotta say about his anti-Semitic meltdown? And he doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down ever since.
Not surprising. This dude is... he would not have been out of place in the Soviet Union. You know that he lusts for the Soviet Union.
And they would not like him because he's an N-word, remember?
Yep.
That would be the funny thing, too.
Yeah.
Alright. So, now with that out of the way, making fun of him, what's next?
Massive earthquake and tsunami affects the Pacific.
This actually just happened recently, so I figured we'd talk about it since we talked about this stuff recently. A few days ago, as I'm looking up, 3 days ago, there was an earthquake that was off the coast of Kamchatka, which is a Russian province in the Far East, out in the Pacific. And it was very powerful, an 8.8. That is up there. Yeah. That's probably, I don't know about top 10, but probably top 20 strongest earthquakes in recorded history. That's pretty strong. I'm looking up Wikipedia's article right now to see if I can find anything. Oh, it was the most powerful earthquake in the world since the 2011 earthquake in Japan. It's the 6th strongest earthquake ever recorded. Holy crap.
So it was in the top 10.
Wow, and I was damn wrong. So yeah, it was right off the coast, kind of like what happened with the Japan earthquake in 2011, and it did cause tsunamis, which I'm sure you guys probably heard in the middle of the night when it happened, didn't you?
Yeah, most of the energy would have dissipated by the time it got to New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah, we're pretty far away. Although I saw like videos the other night, apparently it did a lot of flooding in Hawaii and such. But yeah,
That's not surprising.
yeah, it affected like pretty much everywhere in the Pacific. But the good news is there's only one indirect death at the moment, which is nice to hear. The sixth most powerful earthquake, and no casualty, and only one that's actually been indirect. But so I got very lucky. Thankfully, that area is pretty wide open, sparsely populated, especially in Russia and such. So that's really good to see. But you gotta be careful about earthquakes, especially on the water. They could cause tsunamis, like we saw in 2004. You gotta be very careful with this stuff. Because remember, guys, that earthquake in 2004 that killed like 250,000 people. So earthquakes are probably the most. Earthquakes and tsunamis from earthquakes are probably the most dangerous force in the world, and there's nothing we can really do about it. Not like climate change stuff related. I'm trying to see, it went on for like 3 to 4 minutes. It was 22 miles in depth, which is, what I heard, is pretty shallow for earthquakes out in the water, isn't it?
This makes earthquakes worse. The shallower they are, the worse they are.
Yep, just like the shallower the water makes tsunamis worse too. Oh, how tall is a meter? In
3
feet.
foot 4 inches.
What'd you say?
3 foot 4 inch. 3 foot 3.
Okay, so I think that's what they said would hit Hawaii, 3-foot tsunamis, which is still pretty tall. That's tall enough to knock people down.
About the height of it's about the height of the Pokemon Semi-Seer.
Yeah. So like nothing affected you all, I'm guessing, right?
No, it would have been just a little dribble. It just would have been another. It just would have been another wave by the time it arrived to New Zealand, Thomas, Samoa, Fiji, and the east coast of Australia.
Oh yeah, that just made me realize something. For all of you who don't know, people, these tsunamis from earthquakes are powerful enough to travel around the world. Just so you all know that.
Oh yeah.
They might not be a friend. They might not be a friend anymore, but they still travel around the world. I wouldn't be surprised if those tsunami waves already hit the east coast of America by now.
That'd be like a centimeter tall, but they'd still be there.
And I think we mentioned this before. The 2011 earthquake in Japan, it was powerful enough to actually make the Earth spin a microsecond faster, or something like that. These earthquakes are powerful enough to actually affect like the orbit of Earth somewhat, the speed and all that. It's wild to think about, isn't it?
12.3 magnitude earthquake would be enough to rip the Earth apart.
What magnitude?
12. I think it was about 11.3.
Oh yes.
Would be enough to like rip a massive, like, break the Earth in half.
Yeah, I saw a video.
Or at least expose the core.
I gotta look it up. I saw a YouTube channel that does like gets questions from commenters, and he actually did a video on what would happen if like a magnitude 25 earthquake happened, or what if a negative magnitude earthquake happened, stuff like that. It was pretty fascinating. Maybe I should show that to you.
The magnitude 25 will be the sort of thing you'd get on stars.
Yeah, he said if magnitude 25 earthquake would destroy the sun, basically, if it happened there.
Well, yeah, so you'd probably be getting those on like Betelgeuse and Antares.
I think he said like up to, if it got like magnitude 15, I think it would destroy the Earth entirely. So yeah.
Yeah, so an 11.3 would be enough to basically wipe life out on Earth.
Yeah, guys, earthquakes are very powerful, and unlike climate change where we can do something, there's nothing we can do about earthquakes and tsunamis and all that. That's all natural, unfortunately. All we could do, thankfully, since 2004 earthquake, is we have
and
what?
Monitor the fault lines and try to predict and prepare people as best we can.
Maybe we need to just kidnap the Japanese geologists, since they know what they're doing. Since they get them every day. Yep, I'm actually looking up the 2011 earthquake right now. It was the 4th powerful in the world. And I think we mentioned this before, people. The most powerful earthquake ever recorded was in 1960 in Chile. It was a 9.4 to 9.6. Which is still just insane, if you think about it. But it's nice to know that no one died this time around, other than something indirect. And hopefully nothing happens again coming up. But you gotta know another thing about earthquakes. aftershocks can happen, so even more can happen, maybe even stronger.
And do happen.
And also,
oh yeah, just
what?
Oh, I was gonna say, though it was only about though it was a low magnitude, I actually did feel an earthquake come through my area a few years ago. I was sitting there on my computer, and I just started feeling this like a little bit of shaking, and I'm like, what the? And it stayed that for about 5-10 seconds, and then it stopped, and I'm like, did I just experience an earthquake? And then that night on the news, they told us about an earthquake, and it was close enough that the waves could have reached where I lived. So I had an earthquake.
And of course, I showed you this before it happened back in 2011 for us. 5.8 in Virginia, that stretched from Florida all the way up to Canada. I remember that day. So yeah, people, always take earthquakes seriously, people, especially when they happen out of nowhere. Alright, so now, with that out of the way, let's get on to the next topic.
Number 3 is... South Park hilariously destroys Trump.
Oh my goodness! South Park! That was hilarious! Absolutely beautiful!
You know what, you know that they just are doing this. They did what they did. Remember that 1.5 billion...
What? You broke up. You there? You broke up! Oh no, you seem to have disappeared on us! Oh no!
Hello?
Oh, there you are.
I think I knocked my... Hang on. There we go.
So of course, South Park in their new season did a hilarious destruction of Trump. They pretty much made him to become Saddam, which for all of you don't know, it's been a running gag since the first season, where Saddam Hussein is a recurring character in South Park. And he's just like a Canadian and the Danish, with a bobblehead and all that. And he's Satan's abusive homosexual lover and such. And so many hilarious funny things. And just recently, they actually showed Trump in this episode as Saddam. He talked the exact same voice, the exact same mannerism. Relax, buddy. And actually, and of course, fucked Satan too. And was abusive too. I would not be surprised if they ever continue this episode if we see Saddam again actually controlling Trump or being Trump. Like he did years ago when he took over Canada. So, this episode was absolutely hilarious. It triggered Trump so badly that they had a meltdown about it, and they actually called Matt and Trey to clear the South Park leftists! And Matt and Trey...
Attacking the left. That Cartman's a fucking caricature of an anti-woke grifter.
Oh, we're gonna get to that in a moment, too. But Matt and Trey are libertarians! They hate conservatives and liberals. They've said that already. They're equal opportunity offenders. And now conservatives hate the South Park so much now because of it. And also there's a funny sub point too. Whereas you mentioned Cartman, he's a evil fascist piece of shit and all that. And now he always made fun of like woke people for years, but apparently in this episode, now everyone in South Park is anti-woke. So now he's like everyone else, and now he's having a confliction. He feels like the same as everyone else, and he tried to kill himself because of it. And I wouldn't be surprised in the next episode all of a sudden he becomes woke to be different.
He's a grifter.
Yep.
He's a grifter.
As I said with Tesla the other night, imagine next episode Cartman all of a sudden likes Jews and gingers now. Wouldn't that be wild? Trying to be friends with Kyle. But of course, this episode, as funny as it was, it also was a point because it's actually making fun of, I think it was a merger between Paramount, which owns South Park, and CBS and all that. And Matt and Trey got very rich out of it. They're getting like $1.5 billion with this new agreement, too, that they're doing with South Paramount. And Trump, of course, I think it's going to get more to it because Blooms is a South Park creator, which we're going to watch. go into more detail about, along with just laugh at the absurdity of the episode. So let's get to it, shall we? This episode was so freaking funny.
So the season 27 premiere of South Park just aired, and holy shit. I think it's safe to say that South Park is back. And when I say that, I don't just mean that the show is literally back. I mean the soul, the edge, the controversy. South Park is back in a way that they haven't been back in probably at least a decade. And if they hadn't made it very clear in the past,
PC
I think Matt and Trey
principle!
just wanted to remind us, they truly
I remember
do not
that.
give a
Yeah,
single
PC, bro. PC Principal is now a Christian fundamentalist.
episode is
Basically
probably
the
the
male
most
Candace
insane middle
Owens.
finger
Yeah, PC, bro.
I have ever seen, and I'm not even talking about what they did to Trump. Sure, they tore Trump to shreds, but not just for the sake of it. No, making fun of Trump was a calculated play on their part to achieve their real goal, screwing Paramount as hard as they can. Like, I don't think you
'Cause Matt
guys
and Trey
understand
are
just
ultimate
how
trolls, and
insane
they're
this
awesome
actually
at it.
is. I'm so excited to talk about it, because if you don't know the full context of everything going on behind the scenes, by the end of this video you will, and you'll understand that this might be the most insane thing South Park has ever done, even crazier than the Muhammad and Scientology stuff. This is genuinely
Oh, of
some
course, the
next level
episodes of Muhammad that got censored years ago. Yeah, I remember those days.
200 IQ supervillain shit on the part of Matt and Trey. So enough of the intro, let's just get straight into it. Personally, I'm just so happy that South Park is finally back. There's really
And of
nothing
course,
better
got
than...
an ad. We're skipping that, of course.
So I'm going to start with a quick summary of the episode, and then I'll give context as to why this is so crazy, but if you want to just skip to that, feel free to do so with the chapters. The episode opens with Cartman finding out from his mother that his favorite comedy radio show, NPR, has been taken off the air by the president. Of course, this is
Also, fuck you, Trump, for doing that.
Cartman, so calling NPR a comedy show is pretty par for the course.
It had like gay rappers from Mexico all sad because girls in Pakistan got stoned to death. And guess why they got stoned to death? Because they were raped. It was hilarious. Why would anyone cancel that?
He begins to notice that the
Of course, Cartman would laugh at women getting raped.
cultural
Of
tide
course,
seemed to
because
be
he's
shit.
subhuman. Of course, because he's a fascist, Nazi, subhuman scumfuck.
And apparently a grifter now.
Yeah,
From
and a
woke.
grifter too, yeah.
And he's afraid of that happening.
Woke stuff is off limits. I mean, it's like now everyone rips on the Jews and it's totally fine, huh, Kyle?
And Kyle doesn't
His
even
last
care.
hope is PC Principal, the man whose
Of
entire
course.
character is literally just a representation of woke politics. But he quickly learns that he
Social
too is
justice,
compromised.
1, 2, 3. Wee-oo, wee-oo. I want to be PC. Wee-oo, wee-oo.
What?
Now, I'm not sure if this is referencing
Social
a specific
and
event, but I know that this
social
administration has made
warriors
statements
get
about wanting to put
triggered.
Christianity
Remember
back
that?
into the government and schools, with some
Well,
states
they
doing
made the
things like
social
putting
justice warriors look amazing instead of pathetic.
Just like PC Principles, now Christian Fundies I mentioned earlier.
commandments in the classroom. So of course the way they go about showing this is by having PC Principal bring Jesus himself into the school. So Stan tells Randy this, and he's slightly concerned, so he does what every good parent would do and talks to ChatGPT about it. Back at school, Cartman
What
is
seems
freaking
to
out
be the
about the fact
opposite
that
problem?
even PC Principal isn't woke anymore, and he declares woke to be dead.
You can just stay retarded now. Nobody cares. Everyone hates
Called
the
me
Jews.
Cartman. No one cared if you said retard today. I say it every day.
Everyone's fine with using gay slurs.
Now, you may be wondering, why would Cartman, of all people, care about things being less woke? You would think he would rejoice over that. Well, not exactly, because if no one is woke, Cartman has no one to piss off. Cartman doesn't actually hold
He's
any
a
political beliefs at all.
contrarian
All he
troll!
cares about is using
And
social
a
or political
grifter!
movements for his own enjoyment. And if
Oh, I bet Cartman misses the days when he marched down South Park chanting in German about we mustn't kill the Jews, remember?
Of course, there is nothing he enjoys more than antagonizing people. So, if no one's woke anymore, he has nothing to live for. I also feel like this is kind of a meta joke about South Park itself, where Matt and Trey feel like being politically incorrect and offensive was kind of their whole thing, but now that it's seemingly the norm, it's just not the same. They're not special anymore. At the bar, the whole
Back in our days when South Park was the edgy thing and it triggered everyone, now no one cares.
town is talking about the president, and we begin to see the effects of the death of woke firsthand.
I voted for him to get rid of all the woke stuff, but now that retarded faggot is just putting money in his own pockets.
So they all get riled
Damn it,
up
they
and
took
decide
her
to take
down.
matters into their own hands, forming an angry mob and
Oh
heading
yeah,
straight to
remember when Mr. Garrison was Trump before? But not any
the
time
president's
now.
front door. Except when they bust in, they find a scene they didn't expect.
Excuse me, do you mind?
So Garrison is no longer the president. He gave up on that at the end of the last season. And can I just say, thank God. Garrison has always been one of my favorite characters, and him having to play the role of Trump for so long was downright exhausting. I am so glad they found a way to remove him from that role entirely. But if Garrison isn't president, it begs the question.
Who's the retarded in the White House?
We get the answer to this question alongside the return of a familiar face.
A dictator from the Middle East? Hey, relax, guys. I'm just average Joe. Take a rest.
Now, if you're not a scholar in South Park lore like myself, you may
And
not
me.
understand who this is, but that's why I'm here. That, my friends, is Saddam Hussein, and he was an occasionally recurring character from the early seasons of the show. The last time he made a major appearance was 22 years ago back in Season 7 when he got caught pretending to be the Prime Minister of Canada. He played a major role in the South Park movie as Satan's lover and a couple of subsequent episodes in the following season. But he is back in all of his glory, this time with a fresh new look. Now, technically, we don't know if this is actually a separate character, just given the exact same voice and mannerisms as Saddam, or if it's Saddam wearing a disguise. I tend to lean towards the latter because he did exactly that in his last appearance, and there's a few lines that hint at it.
Hey, come on. You don't want me to bomb you like I did Iraq.
I thought you just bombed Iran.
Iraq, what the hell's the difference?
But this is the point when the
That's what
episode
Trump would
really
say,
starts to go
too.
off the rails, giving us a completely absurd and Looney Tunes-esque caricature of Trump.
Why is my
He goes
dick
down
so
the halls
small?
critiquing all of his portraits for his penis being too small.
What
Then he
is
hops
my
into
dick?
bed with
I don't have one.
And of course, about to mess with Satan.
another familiar face we haven't seen in a while.
Hey,
Can't even
Satan.
see anything, it's so small.
Now, this may seem overly childish even by South Park standards, but there is a very good reason for that, which we'll talk about later in the video. Meanwhile, Cartman has completely given up hope, confiding in Butters at the pond. Without Woke, he has nothing to live for, and despite Butters' pleas, he knows what he has to do.
I'm gonna kill myself. And you.
Back at the White House, Trump is living it up when Randy gives
How
him a
sad
call
are
to
you,
air the town's
Cartman?
grievances. He casually walks past some rather flattering artwork on the wall while they chat, and he ends it by threatening to sue
Picture of
South
Trump
Park.
fucking a
And
goat.
Satan has
Oh,
a couple
boy.
of questions for him when he gets back into bed.
Another random bitch commented on my Instagram that you're on the Epstein list. It's weird that whenever it comes up, you just tell everyone to relax. You remind me more and more of this other guy I used to date. Like,
Meanwhile, Cartman is in Butters' garage attempting to suck down the exhaust from the car, and he eventually convinces Butters to join in. 60 Minutes is very timidly reporting on South Park's protest against Trump, which gives a pretty funny gag.
The Stotch family is proud to say that we own an electric car.
What's funny about this is I actually predicted they would make this joke because they made pretty much this exact same joke back in season 12.
What happened? I thought you were gonna kill yourself.
I tried. Went to sleep in my mom's car in the garage with the engine turned on.
But you didn't die?
Freaking hybrids, man. They just don't do the trick anymore.
So then Jesus comes in to explain to the town what's really going on, and he outright name drops Paramount, CBS, and Stephen Colbert.
You guys saw what happened to CBS? Yeah, well, guess who owns CBS? Paramount. You really want to end up like Colbert? You guys gotta stop being stupid.
And I'll explain all of this in a second. The episode ends with the town agreeing to settle with Trump, but as part of the settlement, they have to promote pro-Trump messaging.
Oh,
And
here
get
we
our
go.
first
This is so funny. The promotion of Trump. Oh my goodness, this is hilarious.
pro-Trump PSA.
Who survived the
this.
wilderness and gave the ultimate sacrifice? Donald J. Trump.
A deep fake of Trump walks in the desert, strips and gets naked and passes out. And talks to his tiny dick.
His penis is teeny tiny, but his love for us is large.
It is just absolutely absurd with Trump being deep-faked onto an actor, and I wish I could show what happens next, but you're just gonna have to go watch the episode. The final shot leaves us with Cartman and Butters still sitting in the car waiting for their inevitable demise, which of course will never come. Now, again, the way they made fun of Trump in this episode seems to be incredibly juvenile even for South Park, but trust me, this
It's
is all
all worth
calculated,
it. It's
so let's get
funny
into
as
it.
hell.
So on the surface, this doesn't seem like anything particular.
What?
Special. They went pretty hard on Trump, but it's not necessarily out of the ordinary for South Park. But allow me to explain what the real plan was here so that you can fully grasp the massive set of balls Matt and Trey have just put on display. So I talked in my last two videos about South Park's dealings with Paramount and how Paramount has seemingly screwed them over time and time again. I recommend you check out those videos for the full context, but this is the short version. Paramount has been dealing with a lawsuit from Warner Brothers regarding South Park streaming rights for years at this point. This has affected South Park's production greatly. Paramount is trying to merge merge with Skydance just as South Park is coming to the end of its contract with HBO for streaming rights. The merger is a quote shit show according to Matt and Trey, and it causes the new season to be delayed by 2 weeks. And all of this is going on while they're trying to negotiate a new deal for streaming. The incoming executives from Skydance are given control over Paramount's deals, and they change the terms of South Park's original deal they had planned with Paramount. On top of that, the executives begin meddling in their negotiations with other companies like Netflix and HBO. Matt and Trey are very upset by this, and they threatened to sue Paramount over it only 2 weeks ago from today. So Matt and Trey have been very upset with Paramount for a very long time now, and leading up to the last couple of days, we didn't even know if they would still be signing with them for exclusive streaming rights. So that's all stuff we already knew, but a couple of days ago is when shit really started to hit the fan. In those videos, I didn't mention the fact that President Trump has actually been in a lawsuit with Paramount for months now, attempting to sue them over an interview with Kamala Harris during the elections.
Cry
You don't need to know
more,
the full
Trump.
context of that. All you need to know is that Trump is pissed off at Paramount. This wouldn't be a huge problem if it weren't for the fact that Paramount was attempting to merge with Skydance, and this merger needs approval from the FCC. The FCC is under the Trump administration, so essentially, as long as Trump is angry at Paramount and suing them, he can hold this merger above their head and prevent it from happening. Paramount realizes that if they want this merger done, they just have to give in. So they make the decision to settle with Trump for $16 million, supposedly promising another $20 million worth of screen time from Skydance
Blatant
when the merger
corruption,
actually
too.
happens.
As part of the settlement, we also had to agree to
But what do
doing
we expect?
pro-Trump
This is
messaging.
exactly everything
Shortly-
we know. What they know.
And one of the topics is actually going to get into some of this later on.
After they agree to this, in a shocking coincidence, Paramount announces the cancellation of their decades-long Late Show with the host Stephen Colbert. They cite the fact that the Late Show was losing them tens of millions of dollars a year, but the weird part is that not only had the show just been renewed through 2026 recently, but it's also the most popular late-night show on television based on ratings. Now, if you know anything about Stephen Colbert, you know that he's not the biggest fan of Trump, and he's making fun of him pretty much every night on his
Which
show.
any
And
sane person
specifically,
should
he
do.
called out this settlement that Paramount made with Trump as
Should be
looking more like
doing.
Because he's a fucking moron.
a political bribe than a legal proceeding. And consequently, Trump has been a very outspoken critic of Colbert in the past. So it definitely seems a bit coincidental that Paramount would
L plus ratio.
Keep watching more South Park, Trump.
decide to cancel the #1 late night talk show on TV while they are
That's
actively
ridiculous,
in the
the
process
clown.
of
And just keep watching your bobblehead all over the place.
caving to the president's intimidation tactics.
I mean, who the hell does this president think he is? The government can't cancel the show. I mean, what show are they going to cancel next?
And it looks even
Hey, Cartman, remember you tried to cancel Family Guy 20 years ago?
worse when the president immediately hops on Truth Social to celebrate Colbert's cancellation, and then also threaten the jobs of the other late night hosts who have a tendency to badmouth him. So with this lawsuit settled and the merger with Skydance all but confirmed by the president, Paramount is finally able to make a deal with South Park for a whopping $1.5 billion. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I've never been a big fan of Stephen Colbert. I personally have never found his show to be very funny, and after his cancellation, it seemed like a lot of people share that sentiment. And as much as I love South Park and think it's absolutely worth an insane amount of money, as I said in my last video, I think investing $1.5 billion into a single show for 5 years could literally never make sense from a business perspective. So I
Hey,
do
Matt,
believe
Trey
Paramount when
fleeced
they
them.
say that Colbert was losing them money, reportedly $40 million a year.
No,
But with the
they negotiated hard on that. They played hardball with them.
And you know what? Based on them, they deserve it to make us laugh.
timing and the sheer amount of money they were willing to give to South Park immediately after, I find it incredibly hard to believe that money was the only motivator for this decision. Trump almost certainly had something to do with it, as they reference in this episode.
You really want to end up the Colbert? You guys gotta stop being stupid.
So all of this happens earlier in the week. South Park signs their deal with Paramount on Tuesday officially, and then they release this episode. Before the ink is even dry on the contract, they immediately go after Trump 10 times harder than Colbert ever has. Now, what's weird about this is the fact that Matt and Trey have been done with Trump for a while now. They claimed that the election was one of the major reasons season 27 didn't air at the end of 2024, because they just didn't want to talk about it anymore. And even after it was announced that the season would be airing in 2025, they went out of their way to make it very clear they weren't going to be targeting Trump because they had nothing left to say about him. So were they just
I mean, you
lying?
can make
Why
fun
would
of him
they
just for the hell of
immediately
it.
make the first episode about Trump?
You
Well,
make
as
fun
I
of
said,
him for
Matt and Trey
existing.
really
we know
do not
that.
You make fun of his tiny dick like all conservatives have.
like Paramount. And after seeing how all of this stuff
You make
played
fun
out
of them
with
as their domestic abusers like Trump is to Satan.
Paramount and the president, they began scheming. You see, I think they had the season premiere finished a long time ago, since it was supposed to come out at the beginning of July. But once they got delayed and saw how all of this was playing out, they went back to the drawing board and made an entirely new episode in the span of less than a week. Which, to be fair, isn't abnormal for them. Most of their episodes are made in 6 days. But they had not forgotten...
It's amazing how quick they can make episodes, isn't it?
about what Paramount did to them, and they wanted their revenge. They knew exactly what they needed to do. They would go after Trump hard. Make him a complete caricature. Make him a naked fat guy with a tiny penis who was incredibly insecure about it. But their motivation was not just to spite Trump. No, they were just doing what they had to do in order to get a reaction out of him. They were rage baiting him, daring him to get angry about it, because they knew that it would ruin any of the good graces Paramount and Skydance had just built with him. They were intentionally provoking him in the hopes that he would either file another lawsuit against Paramount or block the Skydance merger. I mean, just look at the way they portrayed him in this episode. As someone whose job it is to watch South Park, I can tell you in confidence that this is not normally how they would make fun of someone, especially in the modern era.
Worth it.
I mean, just look at the way they've portrayed him in the past. They very rarely will go this juvenile with their insults. Everything that they did in this episode, from the pictures of him on the White House walls to the repeated mentions of his tiny penis, was calculated. Not only to make this episode as memeable as possible to get everyone talking about it, but to go after the things that Donald Trump has proven to respond to in the past. If they just made fun of his politics like they did in the past, no one would have cared and they would have gotten nowhere. So, they just clowned the dude in a way so over the top it wouldn't be out of place in a Looney Tunes episode. It reminded me so much of their episode on Osama bin Laden back in 2001.
Yes, that
they
episode.
knew that no one wanted to see them make fun of the political climate or the nuance in it, so they just clowned him in a very similar way. All they cared about was getting their revenge on Paramount, and they did so in the most hilarious way possible. They took $1.5 billion from this company and immediately repaid them by spitting directly into their face, handing them a lit bomb and saying, good luck with that. This might be one of the most nefarious, evil genius business moves I have ever seen in my life, and it just made Matt and Trey billionaires. And that might be the most South Park thing they have ever done. It almost feels like the decades of Matt and Trey farting in the face of the industry has all culminated in this, becoming billionaires from this industry they despise so much, and immediately telling them to go fuck themselves. And it's obvious that Matt and Trey recognize that this is a dangerous game they're playing, as the whole subplot follows Cartman and Butters trying to kill themselves. This is literally Matt and Trey's suicide attempt, acknowledging that what they're doing could very well mean the end of the show. And if it does mean the end of the show, I honestly cannot imagine a better way to go out. It's absolutely poetic, and I think it might be the funniest thing they have ever done. So now I hope you guys can start to understand the gravity of this situation, so let's finish it up by talking about my feelings on the episode overall. So the first thing I want to mention is that the show is now streaming on Paramount Plus, and there aren't any banned episodes besides the Muhammad ones, which is great to see. But I do want to mention that Matt and Trey are getting paid a flat rate regardless of if people watch on Paramount Plus, so I'm sure they could not care less if everyone started sailing the 7 seas, if you catch my drift. But one thing about this episode I was excited to see is that Garrison is seemingly back for good, and I cannot wait to see him play his old character again. It seems like they're setting up for Saddam Trump to be a recurring character, and I really hope that's the case, because both him and Satan are great characters, and I'd love to see them a little more often. And what are they going to do with PC Principal?
Anything going on?
I would have no problem making that like the next topic for the next several weeks, just watching the episode.
Who gave up on all of his PC values just because it's not popular anymore. I don't know how to feel about that. On one hand, I would love to see him return to his woke, preachy character, but on the other hand, it could be interesting to see him be an anti-woke, preachy character. I also wonder what they're going to do with Cartman, since the last we saw, he was trying to kill him.
Oh, please make Cartman woke to be contrarian. Please, that'll be awesome!
Because no one is woke anymore. If I had to guess, I would say that they're going to make him become woke, since they realize that's the most effective way to piss people off nowadays. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the show itself did that for the same reason. I've already seen people calling South Park woke on Twitter after this episode, and I think that's pretty funny. I think what a lot of those people don't really understand is that South Park is satire. Satire is
ratio.
Man, they just do not like comedy. I thought conservatives were good at comedy. I think they were coping. What do you think?
Comedy.
I think they're jealous that they can't be funny like I am with My Blossom in Summer.
inherently counterculture. South Park has not changed at all over the years. They have always been counterculture. The only thing that has changed is the culture. South Park makes fun of whatever the dominant ideas in the culture are, and as the culture has shifted so
they
much
make fun
in
of
the last
liberals
27
all the
years
time,
of the
and
show,
it's hilarious,
the groups of
pal.
people getting offended by the show has shifted as well.
Remember
in the late 90s, early
remember
2000s,
Smug
it
Alert?
was the conservative, puritanical type that would get mad. Then the culture shifted towards tolerance and open-mindedness, and it was the liberals who would get mad. And now we've come full
reminds
circle
me
back
of
to the conservatives
remember
getting-
the arc when Mr. Garrison transitioned?
Yeah.
Those episodes are so transphobic all these 20 years later, but still very funny.
And honestly, I think that's just proof that South Park is doing their job well. The day people stop getting offended by South Park is the day that the show needs to end. But luckily, it doesn't seem like that'll be happening anytime soon. But all in all, I gotta say, this is one of the best episodes South Park has ever made, and we'll have to stay tuned to see the fallout. Matt and Trey have a Comic-Con panel scheduled literally for today.
Oh my god, oh my goodness, I just remembered. After this episode aired, oh my god, like all the crybabies like the Quiver and all that, showed a clip of them apparently like apologizing for making fun of Trump at Comic-Con, but when I saw it, they were doing it in a sarcastic way, and they didn't even realize it.
After I'm writing this, so we'll also get to see just what they have to say about it. But that's all I have to say. This was crazy, and
Grifting morons. Well, remember those grifting morons. Their grift's dying.
Oh, so awesome watching the Quiver cry. So, that's gonna wrap it up there. So, what do you have to say about the South Park episode?
That was epic. That is amazing.
Matt and Trey never stop. Always fun. Been watching you South Park since 2003 and never gets old. Let's go. Never ever change. Alright, so now, what's the next topic?
This is the one where Mehdi Hasan is destroying Nazis.
Another destruction into another destruction, you saying? Let's go!
Yep.
And of course, this caused a massive fallout recently with one of the people he interviewed, talked to, getting fired from her job. Maybe you shouldn't be a Nazi, pal. Openly admitted one, too. So, yeah. Of course, if y'all remember, several months ago, we watched Sam Cedar go on Jubilee when he destroyed conservatives on there. Well, Mehdi Hasan went on there, and it went just as you expected. He obliterated everyone, and a whole bunch of them just were spewing racist slurs at him. So typical stuff he probably has to deal with all the time. So let's watch Mehdi. Oh yeah, Kyle actually had a really thoughtful analyst on how Jubilee did this, because he didn't like for how Jubilee did this, like platforming these people, even if it was funny seeing them getting destroyed. Maybe we can get into it too. Well, let's get to Kyle's video on this.
So Mehdi Hasan did a Jubilee debate where he was surrounded by 20 far-right conservatives. I think it's too kind to just call them far-right conservatives, and you'll see why.
Especially the one he got fired.
This is reminiscent, of course, of Sam Cedar doing this. And look, I have to say, I'm sort of torn on the value of what went down here. I'm not like, I understand from Mehdi's perspective, I understand and I agree with him doing it.
And he did a
from
good
Sam's
job.
Perspective, same thing. I agree. I get it.
Job.
But just the company Jubilee, like what they're doing here is the worst possible example of like low IQ engagement slop, which helps, I think, feed political radicalization and really boils down everything to its like most pathetic and over-the-top caricature, right? And so I don't know if this is having a positive effect, bro. I mean, it might have a positive effect from the standpoint that, you know, Mehdi absolutely crushes these people, and
when Sam Cedar humiliated them,
these people, like when
the
Sam
point that all the conservatives were like, "Look at this conservative Sam Cedar destroy these liberal SJW Jews."
So on the one hand, it's funny and it's a base to see Sam Cedar and Mehdi destroy these people. But Kyle does have a point. Is it really a point to this? Like, are we just platforming these people and help them like get big and all that, which we don't want? Like, there are some things now that we really shouldn't even be bringing up other than just make fun of them. Like, they don't deserve a seat at the table, basically. So we have to say about that.
Yeah, I agree broadly. I don't think these sort of things have like lost their relevance, basically.
But hey, it is fun making fun of them.
Had Republicans online claiming Sam is one of their own because he kept owning.
You know you done goofed when conservatives are saying Sam Cedar is the conservative and using you to destroy you. That's pretty sad and hilarious.
the people around him, but they didn't realize that Sam was the lefty and that he was owning the conservatives. They just thought, well, this guy's
That's because Cedar's the best debater on the left.
So,
yep.
like,
He even tricks conservatives to think he's conservative.
And I love the content that comes out of it.
Because they were
that's the best part of this.
Yep. That just shows how
the best part of him going on there.
That just showed how stupid the people who was debating. They sound like SJWs to other conservatives.
It's like, man, nobody knows that they're,
also
if
shows
anything,
how,
they're like,
you know, how demonic they are.
I'm surprised they didn't call them anti-Semitic slurs. Now, if only Mehdi could be lucky to avoid Islamophobic slurs, but nope, he couldn't.
Dialogue worse, making the discourse worse. You know, basically exposing these far-right freaks to other far-right freaks, and it almost gives them license to be as stupid and as insane as the people that you're about to see. So anyway, let me show you some of the clips that we got here.
Oh, this is the person that got fired too.
Quite frankly, if Trump is anti-constitution, good, and I think he should go further.
So the guy admits he hopes Trump is anti-constitutional. We gotta see about that, conservatives. Here's one of your people on your side saying he's happy Trump's anti-constitution. I like how your guys are very open about it, because we've been saying for decades now, and it's nice to see that you're finally being open about it.
This is wonderfully revealing of the modern conservative mindset, so I appreciate you spelling it out.
That should shuttle the norm, and that means that you people should lose. Should be in the operative word, because unfortunately...
This is America, remember?
Yes, your country is, unfortunately, America is a shithole, and therefore a lot of the people in your country love Nazis.
And this does not happen in other countries, people. People like these wouldn't even be brought on TV because they're so stupid.
Just checking, do you support the Second Amendment? I do.
Only the countries where Sky News operates with any significant relevance.
Yep, Sky News.
Or, you know, Russian, or Russian propaganda operates.
I'm saying that Donald Trump is defying the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment.
And to be fair to you conservatives, Trump is not necessarily pro-Second Amendment either, if you remember the bump stock ban years ago that even the Supreme Court took down. So, if you're a hardcore Second Amendment defender, do you really want to support Trump? How about that thought?
Thinking of defying the 12th and 22nd Amendments. You're saying you don't care about the Constitution, but actually you do, because you quite like the Second Amendment. You just don't like the bits that you disagree with. Can I just be clear on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm more than willing to amend it and include
whenever
the
it's in your
Amendment.
favor.
Yeah, absolutely.
So can Democrats do the same when they're in office?
No, absolutely not.
So you don't believe in democracy?
Partisan hack much? Republicans can change the Constitution however they want, but Democrats can't.
No, absolutely not.
What do you believe in?
Autocracy.
A little bit more than
openly admit he's pro-autocracy. Okay, I'm not surprised. This is what conservatives think. This is just being open about it, so please keep going.
Far-right Republican.
Hey.
What?
They want Nazi dictatorship.
Go do that on Age of History Free then, pal.
What can I say?
I think you say I'm a fascist.
Yep.
Yeah, I am.
Yep. Guy just admitted and laughed it off, and people are cheering that he's a Nazi.
I'm just checking who's clapping, just to get my set of where everyone is.
Bro, this is what's happened. This is what's happened. We have doors are open that have never been open until recently, right? Like post World War II, everybody understood. Hey, those motherfuckers that your grandfather was. I don't know why I just got the chills. Those motherfuckers that your grandpa was just murdering. Yeah, they're bad guys. They're evil.
I mean, the ones that maternal grandfather was in the Pacific, so he didn't fight the actual Nazis.
Of people, the ones that tried to conquer territory and expand,
shot at several Nazis in World War I in the Battle of the Somme.
Ah, yes, because you guys were forced over there instead of being in the Pacific, remember?
Yep.
Or in Gallipoli.
This was World War I, not World War II.
Yeah, I heard World War I.
It was Hitler? I think Hitler, Himmler, and Goebbels. Either Goebbels or Goering.
Yeah, they're the assholes. The one who believed in a eugenics racial hierarchy where they would
they're the ones who are celebrating
people
Nazi
who were
dictatorship.
Disabled, had some sort of a disability.
We want a Nazi dictatorship because we love it.
Just like all the idiots recently had denied the Holocaust.
You know, if they were, whatever, gypsies, Jews, fill in the blank, communists, the ones that were exterminationists and wanted to, like, murder everybody and everything in sight unless they were, like, blonde hair, blue-eyed, 6'5", chiseled jaw,
Aryan master
six-pack
race.
abs. Everybody sort of got, yeah, those are the bad guys. Those are the bad guys, the ones who started, like, countless wars and tried to expand and take over everybody's country. They're the bad guys.
Looking at you
And there
too,
was such a
Japan.
long
We
period
can't
of,
let
like,
you
that
get
was
away with
accepted.
it.
Everybody knew, yeah, fascism is bad. Those people are bad. They believe in, like, eugenics, a rigid hierarchy system, power for the sake of power. Like, they don't believe in egalitarianism. They don't
Sounds
believe
like
in
the
justice.
Russian Nazi state.
It's every
Yep.
negative
And red fascist
characteristic and
China.
trait you can think of is what they embraced. Authoritarianism to its core.
It's like Nazi Chechnya.
Mm-hmm.
And now, because of the internet, because of the radicalization brought about by probably degrading economic circumstances, lack of hope for a future, this amalgamation
All the blame
of
for
different things.
conservatives and
Now,
neolibs.
You have a bunch of fucking assholes who are like, yeah, fascism. Let's give that a shot again. So it's crazy to me that has somehow proliferated, that's somehow gone somewhere, because it's just, I don't know, it's so fucking stupid.
Does it have to be run over by
when they last tried fascism?
Does it have to be run over by a BAD and Bloomstown Defense 6?
We had a fucking world war and global devastation and mass death and destruction.
That your
What
side
about that
caused,
is
pal.
Is enjoyable. What about
All the
that
tens
is
of millions of
ideal?
people are dead
What
because
about
of
that
your
is the
side.
sort of political system that you think we need. It's just so bizarre. And now they're out of the closet. That's the craziest part to me. Is like, yeah, maybe a decade ago there was some tiny percentage of people that may have.
Oh
been
no,
fascist,
Kyle. These people were
but they
always
pretty much
in the
in the
Republicans.
closet,
Always
and they
believe this
had to-
crap.
They had to like use certain tricks and language.
Saint at least.
And they stylistically had to try to get into the mainstream by like softening the hard edges off of their ideology. Now these motherfuckers are just like, I love Hitler. I'm a fascist. And like, what happened to, where did our fucking IQ points go in this country? Where did they go?
Apparently
I mean, you
to
can
me.
see Mehdi Hasan is struggling with
And
how
I'm
to deal with this.
stupid.
He's like, I don't even need to say anything. You're fucking hanging yourself, dipshit. All right, but we're not done. Let's get to some more here. So this guy, somebody said about this guy, he took a break from tying a woman to railroad tracks to come debate.
Yes,
It's so true. Look at him. What are you doing?
Yes, this guy.
I just noticed he has a Iran pin on his flag. I mean, on his suit. Did you notice that?
Yes, I
Do it,
did.
bro. What
That
are you
was
doing? All right, let's go.
strange.
Children are shot in the head by Israeli snipers. Israeli snipers aren't responsible for that.
Look,
It's a simple question.
Here's the problem.
When Israeli snipers shoot Palestinian children in Gaza in the head, as eyewitness testimony and doctor's testimony proves, that's not the fault of the Israeli snipers.
This is the problem, because when you have a
The problem is you won't answer the question. I'll ask you a third time.
Answer
When
the
Israeli
fucking
snipers
question.
Shoot Palestinian children in the head. Is that not the fault of Israeli snipers?
Well, you gotta let me finish.
No, you got to answer the question.
This guy, this gotta be the worst debater I've ever seen in my life, dog. Holy shit.
Fourth time.
Well,
When Israeli
I will
snipers
get to
shoot
your answer.
Palestinian children in the
I
head.
will get to your
We're running out
answer.
of time. I need
Will
to know
you
what think
just
about innocent
answer
children.
Mehdi
What
already?
you said was pretty outrageous. You said
I will
so-called
get to your answer.
innocent Palestinians. For the fifth time, when Palestinian children are shot in the head by Israeli snipers, is that not the fault of Israeli
What did
snipers?
those children do?
What
What did they do?
He said, what did those children do? Bitch! What the fuck? Oh my god. We need re-education camps, bro. We might need re-education.
You conservatives are radicalizing Kyle.
I'm not
How
so
do you
sure
feel about
gulag
yourself?
Was a bad idea. Come to think of it.
Causing us to
This is
think,
making me
think
understand
like
a lot of
Stalinists.
things I previously did not understand. I never used to understand authoritarian left movements. I'd be like, why are you authoritarian? Just be like libertarian left. Listening to these motherfuckers, I'm like, oh, I see. They had to do something about you motherfuckers. You weren't going to get along.
Careful though,
You weren't
Kyle,
gonna play
because
nice.
Stalinists will go after you next.
If we let you do what you want to do, there'd be a lot of fucked up shit happening. We got to go a little further, don't we?
Did the children deserve to be shot in the head?
Because the problem is,
you
over
know,
there,
millions of people are watching you say
they
to
start
justifying the
brainwashing
killing of
children. They start brainwashing children at a very young age.
So you support
Exactly.
sniping children in Gaza?
Brainwashing them from the inside the womb.
Look,
do other people here support sniping children in Gaza? Is that a conservative position now?
What if they're very...
Wow, even the fascist early watch was like, no. Oh, wow.
So I love this because even some of the other fascists are like, I don't like...
When you got literally Hitler. When you got literally Hitler to disagree with you.
How is that possible?
As you all know, there's this big breakdown in the fascist movement. There are pro-Israel fascists and there are anti-Israel fascists.
Oh yeah, that's an actual
right?
thing. There's pro-Jewish Nazis, which is hard to believe, but that's an actual thing, people.
So in like the racial hierarchy...
Because they hate Muslims.
There's been like in modern day and historically, there's been like Nazis of 6 different religions.
Yep.
You have obviously the Christian Nazis. You got the Islamic Nazis in Chechnya and the Gulf states in the Neo-Ottoman Empire.
Yep.
You've got the Jewish Nazis of Bibi Hitler Yahoo. You've got Modi, who's kind of a Hindu Nazi. Yep. You've got Aung San Suu Kyi, who's a Buddhist Nazi. And remember that in World War II, the Japanese Empire were Shinto Nazis.
And don't forget the Russian Nazi state, too.
There's
They're
some
Christian Nazis as well.
Far right.
I did also say the Chechens, who are Islamic Nazis.
Who have Jews at like the top of the racial hierarchy, and then there's others that have Jews at the bottom of the racial hierarchy, like literal straight up Nazis. So oftentimes you see this difference where some fascists will cheerlead the killing of children in Gaza, and some fascists will use that as evidence of the inferiority of the Jews who are doing it, right? So there's that breakdown in the fascist movement, which is why you see disagreement between this guy and the crowd.
Unfortunately, that's a big problem for the pro-Palestinian side, too, that we're on, because we got to deal with anti-Semites.
But what if they are?
They're not, though.
What if they are?
I have friends who went there. Doctors went to Gaza. American doctors. They came back as we multiple...
Like Revolutionary Blackout Network.
And that stupid...
Who do all the CIA's PSYOP work for them.
And that stupid cunt doctor, remember, from months ago.
Children. What if they're hell-bent?
I remember that
What if
as
they're
well.
hell-bent on killing you and your family?
A 10-year-old child, an 8-year-old child, a 6-year-old child.
Because
this is
like
bad
you said,
for you.
Like you
You're
said,
sitting on
they're
live
brainwashing
television where millions of people are going to see your neighbors, your friends. You support the killing of children.
Millions of people don't know what's going on.
Even your fellow right-wingers are saying, don't go this far.
I don't know, man. I can't believe we've gotten to this point. Maybe I was naive for ever thinking that everybody could draw some clear, bright lines around certain issues. One of the things that's so, like, duh is, hey, don't kill children? Right?
My standard's higher.
Genocide?
Hey,
don't starve a
let
population of over 1
LGBT
million
people be who they want to
like,
be.
These were things that I assume, no matter what your personal political ideology
let
is,
women be able to control
everybody
their
would sort of
bodies
be
if
like,
they want to.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Conservatives
But no,
fail both of those easily.
Now, especially witnessing what's happening in Gaza, seeing all the assholes who defend it, you look at it and you go, there is nothing that is a slam dunk. There is nothing that is a given. You can't assume the most basic shit about some other person and their politics, because people have opened the doors to all sorts of horrors, and they've done it right in front of our eyes, and you would be shocked how many people are A-okay with the most depraved shit you've ever heard. Look at this guy twisting himself into a pretzel to try to defend the sniping of children.
White genocide, sure, but don't
Millions of
killing
people
kids.
don't understand the brainwashing that is going on in Islamic Republic and in Palestine.
How about the brainwashing in Israel,
that's going
pal?
on in Israel? What about that? What about all of the top political officials?
How about the colonization of the West Bank?
And military officials who say things on a regular basis, like
Fucking
Palestinians are
subhuman.
animals, and there are no such thing as innocent Palestinians, and we need to treat them like Amalek and even kill their babies. What about that? Nothing to say about that, right?
You're obsessed with Iran so much that you're supporting the killing of Palestinian children who never harmed you or any other Israeli. That's insane.
Look.
And the fact that you support Trump's ethnic cleansing now doesn't surprise me.
I didn't say ethnic cleansing. I said cleansing of the land. Because
Wow. Like, that makes a difference, pal.
I don't support genocide. I just support the clearing of the land of the people living there.
You know what that reminds me
You
of?
basically just said, I'm not in support of ethnic cleansing, but I'm in support of ethnic cleansing.
You know what that reminds me of? I'm not racist. I'm a race realist.
Oh my, kill me. You fucking kill me, bro. Alright, do I have more of this? Okay, I got one more. I
What
think
you're
this one's
looking
like
for is real racist.
the mashup. Here we go.
My family lineage is settlers from the 1500s. So
You don't look very Native American to me.
I am Native American. Whites are Native Americans. What are you
Sorry.
talking about?
You're not.
Oh my god.
Well, to be fair, we are the indigenous population now. But we aren't Native Americans, though. Both things can be true.
Does this shit work on the
I
4chan?
remember I posted that, I think, on Kyle's video. I remember I posted on Kyle's video, and I actually got shit for it.
And like Groiper message board, bro. Is that where this works? Is that where you're getting shit like this? Actually, white people are Native American.
Well, like I said, we are the indigenous population now, Kyle.
Who does this work on? Who listens to that and goes,
Both things can be
"Nailed it."
true.
What is wrong with these people? I can't. Where does Jubilee find these people? Where the fuck do you find these people? Did you go into Nick Fuentes' chat room and you said, hey, bunch of you assholes, come with me?
No, because they're not cat girls.
Settlers from the 1500s. So,
you don't look very Native American to me.
No, remember, he believes that having sex with women is gay.
Yep. Femboys, then. Femboys, you need to be if you're in his group.
I am Native American.
Yep. Remember, you got to be able to handle. You got to be able to handle the cold because they're living in Narnia. That's how in the closet they are.
Just because you put a little sass on it doesn't mean it's correct.
Whenever Fuentes speaks, all I hear him speaking is Narnian.
You're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
Hey, what can I say?
I think you can say I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
And that's why you got fired, pal.
That's why you got shot.
I'm 26 and I've never been laid, so I want to kill people.
Why was it taking so long to show the person spew a slur at Medi?
Listen to me. I am an immigrant. I'm speaking from personal experience.
Get the hell out.
I don't even.
There we go. Get the hell out.
Get the hell out.
Yes.
Why?
I don't want to hear.
My first.
Imagine telling Medi to get out. Oof.
At least he didn't say, I hope your pager doesn't go off.
Yeah, I'm going back on what I said earlier. I'm happy that they did this. Because all these, like, idiot fascist kids don't realize that, like, just their very existence is going to make fascism drop, like, significantly in popularity. Because
you hope.
You, go,
you can only hope.
Who are fascists. These are the losers who are far right. I want to be anything but this. I'm a cock.
I mean, to me, Republicans have been batshit insane for 20 years.
His job is found dead in the next couple of years because one of the people who used to think he was a good person found out that he wanted to annihilate everyone who wasn't white and decided, you know what, I'm going to get rid of you for that. So you in self-defense.
Man, I remember back when I was a teen, seeing how crazy Republicans were back then. I would have thought they would not exist anymore because their ideas are so freaking stupid. But here we are, still around to this day, being stupid.
Yes, now. If communism gets me as far away from these people as possible, then viva la revolution, bitch. That's what's gonna happen. Because these are the most socially maladjusted incel freak weirdos I've ever seen in my life.
Donald Trump is pro-crime and pro-criminal.
Based.
Donald Trump is defying the Constitution.
True.
Immigrants, overall, are good for America.
True.
Donald Trump's plan for Gaza is ethnic cleansing.
Correct.
I'm Mehdi Hasan. I'm a journalist. I'm the editor of Zeteo. And today I'm surrounded by 20 far-right conservatives.
All right, so go watch the whole thing, y'all. Go watch the whole thing. But
by 20 Nazis. Nazis who would want nothing more than the cameras to go off so they can murder him.
Dumber as time has gone by. Like, when I was a kid, the stereotype of the conservative was like a mean old man who prefers rich people to poor people, and they'll, like, look after rich people's money. And they also sort of, like, believe in family values, and they believe in staying close to your own type shit. So it's sort of like a stodgy, stuck-up old man who just wants to keep to themselves and be left alone and look after their family, and, you know, maybe they smoke cigars and drink whiskey. But, like, that was the idea of a conservative. Generally like small government, don't like, you know, big social programs to alleviate poverty. But, like, that's the gist of it. Now it's when you're asked to describe, you know, the modern right, you go, oh, Hitler, right? Like, and I'm joking, but I'm also not. And so I don't know. In my lifetime, it's like conservatives had lost like 20 IQ points on average. And so I actually think this was a good thing that they had this event, just like the Sam Cedar one was good, because I don't know, man. It's hard for me to imagine anybody except the lead poisoned walk out of this going, oh yeah, the fascists did great, I say. Like, no, they just discredited themselves for fucking over an hour straight, and I guess that's good for all of us. Hey, y'all, do me a favor.
I can only hope. I can only hope. But what do you gotta say about based Medi humiliating these people with no effort like Sam Cedar did?
It was epic.
Absolutely insane. So yeah, based Medi strikes again, as always. Alright, so, on to the next topic, which I already know what you're gonna say about Trump once again being a brain-dead retard, since it didn't get replaced when I updated it. What it actually became is Trump's FCC wants bias monitors to ban free speech, which is another video came up recently, which is one of the things I mentioned earlier about the South Park thing. Because part of the settlement with CBS with Trump was they were supposed to have, or going to have, bias monitors on all their stuff. So they report directly to Trump when, in their eyes, they say something incorrect. Which is anti-First Amendment, of course. And if anyone's going to get it, it needs to be Fox. How about that, people? So, yeah, this is absolutely stupid.
You know what they'll do? They'll just be like, hey, so a left someone who doesn't agree with you just said something. Censor them.
Yeah, so it's absolutely stupid, like what they did with Colbert. So let's get to this video.
So as you guys know, Trump's FCC has been an absolute fucking horror show. I mean, they are sort of openly and nakedly authoritarian in a way that, is kind of hard to wrap your mind around. Well, now we have a new example here. This is Trump's FCC chair stooge. And listen to what he said on Greg Kelly's show. This is wild.
We heard a little bit about what they're going to do different on 60 Minutes. Is there anything beyond that you can tell us about what they're going to do differently, fact-based? That's kind of a cultural shock to them. It's going to be.
Yeah, it might be news to some folks over there. One of the things they're going to have to do is put an ombudsman in place for 2 years. So basically a bias monitor that will report directly to the president. So that's something that's significant that we're going to see.
So he's talking about CBS. He's talking about the merger they approved the merger of Paramount and Skydance, I believe it is. CBS is under the Paramount brand. And they go, okay, well, under this deal, what are they going to have to do? And he goes, well, for one thing, 60 Minutes is going to have a bias monitor that reports to the president. Now, there was a little bit of a debate over, some people were saying report to the president means reports to Trump. Others were saying, no, report to the president means report to the president of CBS. But here's the thing. Either way, that is unacceptable. Remember, guys, who they're considering to be this bias monitor at CBS. Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss, the psychotic Zionist shill, who it took her until this fucking week to say, oh, yeah, maybe there is some starvation going on in Gaza.
Oh, took you that long,
Total Israeli government apologist. Absolutely pathetic. And that's who they want as the bias monitor. That's who they want looking over the network. And so remember, what happened with 60 Minutes? You had the guy, the producer, who everybody respected, everybody loved. He stepped down because he went, I can't do my job anymore. They're not letting me tell the truth on Gaza. They're not letting me tell the truth about Trump. And so I'm in a bind, bro. I got to go. I can't do this anymore. And so he ended up stepping down. The people at 60 Minutes stepped up and basically were like, hey, we're with him, bro. We're with him. He's been right all along. We're going to act like him. But now, effectively, what happened? They've been cleaning house over there. They fired Colbert, even though he was at the top of the rankings for the late night shows. That's what CBS did. 60 Minutes, they're going to bring in some fucking hack so that to make sure that they don't criticize Israel and they don't criticize Trump, right? And now a bias monitor,
get over it.
A bias monitor. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the opposite of freedom of speech. And the thing that frustrates me more than anything is that you remember and I remember, it wasn't that long ago, that the right used to say their number one issue was free speech. Their
Which they always lied about.
Was being against political correctness, against the censorship. People should be able to say whatever they want. It's the most basic tenet of the Enlightenment and human civilization is speaking your mind and that being okay. And then now, here we have a situation where the Trump regime has gone completely anti-free speech and they have fucking nothing to say about it. Nothing to say about it. You're not going to see a Ben Shapiro segment on how fucked up it is that now they need a bias monitor at CBS. At the will of the government, you're going to put in a bias...
How about we put a bias monitor on Fox, like I said earlier?
Monitor? Dave Rubin ain't going to talk about it. Nobody on the right who pretended they were all about free speech is going to fucking talk about it. Sargon of Akkad is not going to talk about it. None of these fucking assholes who were all about free speech 3-4 years ago, they're never going to bring it up. Just like they didn't bring up free speech when Trump was suing Ann Selzer for a poll he didn't like. They didn't bring up free speech when Trump sued CBS for how they edited a Kamala interview. They didn't bring up free speech when Trump sued Simon & Schuster over a Bob Woodward book that he didn't like. They never brought up free speech when Trump threatens to de-license news outlets that criticize him. That's the thing. Trump gets a pass to these people. The Republicans get a pass to these people. So that when Trump sued CNN for $475 million because CNN correctly called his election denialism the big lie, they didn't say, hold on, you're taking away their free speech if you say they can't use the term the big lie to talk about your big lie. None of them brought it up. Nobody cared. In fact, when Trump was arresting pro-Palestine protesters for no fucking reason whatsoever, other than the fact that they were standing up against the Israeli genocide, none of these people said shit. They didn't say anything.
Of course they don't.
They didn't say anything.
They don't care. They love it,
So
in
I
fact.
never want to hear it again from
Because
the right
they're
ever about
authoritarian
free
cunts.
speech. They don't give a fuck about free speech. They never did. They used it as a political weapon because they thought we can use this to go after purple-haired college kids with a septum ring and call them crazy and call them loony and say they're censorious and say they don't want you to speak your mind. But then when we're faced with actual examples of free speech being cracked down on, they're nowhere to be found. And so make no mistake, what Trump is trying to do is stop criticism of him. By the way, we also had this came out again this week. Networks aren't allowed to be political pawns for the Democratic Party. Let me pause right now just for a second to point this out. Yes, the fuck they are. And Fox News is allowed to be a pawn for the Republican Party. Is it unethical? Sure. Is it illegal? No. Newsmax can be a pawn to the Republicans. One American News can be a pawn to the Republicans. Fucking Fox News can be a pawn to the Republicans. And it would be fine for MSNBC and CNN to be a pawn for the Democrats. Yes. There's nothing illegal about that. Not
CNN
even close.
isn't.
You might not like it. You might say it's unethical. Whatever. But it's totally legal. He continues.
Let's both sides whether there are chemicals being put in the water that turn the fucking frogs gay.
Or when they started saying washing Trump.
It has become so outrageous that, in my
Or they
opinion,
start
their licenses could
things like
and
Flat
should
Earth,
be
the
revoked.
Holocaust,
MAGA. So here we
and
go
other
again.
things like
War
that.
on free speech. War
Because
on
they're both
criticism
sides
of
on
him.
everything.
I have one more. Sinclair Broadcast pushes right-wing propaganda into 40% of local news markets. That's local news. Fox News is in 70 million homes. The Washington Post and Politico owners are Trump donors. CBS now has a political bias monitor. Our news is carefully curated by conservative billionaires. This is what we need to look out for, y'all. This is what you need to be afraid of. Is that it's mission creep, but it's happening. All of the local news is going conservative. Fox News is the #1 name in cable news. They fucking dominate the airwaves. And now you have Washington Post, Politico, New York Times, CBS. All these people are now walking on eggshells or owned by big Trump donors. There is not going to be any actual outlet of news for us anymore. Nobody telling the truth. Nobody being honest. Nobody being direct. Everything is going to be
We will. You will.
to make
Except
the
on
Republicans
foreign
look
policy,
better and
Kyle.
make the Democrats or the left look worse. That's what it is. And so look out. Look out, because the information environment has not been this horrific since the fucking lead up to the Iraq War, when they literally fired every single anti-Iraq War host. They fired Phil Donahue. Jesse Ventura was supposed to get a show. They canceled it because he was against the Iraq War. That it was an era of darkness. It was an era of everybody had to march in lockstep, and you couldn't cross certain lines, and you couldn't criticize the neocon psychopath government. And now we're in a situation where it's the same thing, but for an even crazier government than the Bush administration. An even crazier one. With all the fucking chaos and the mayhem and the disaster that they're bringing, all the bombing of countries illegally, all the building of concentration camps and sending people there, all the fucking, the trade war shit, which making the world hate us and making our prices go up here, all that stuff. And right now is the worst possible moment where everybody's bending the knee to the regime. So
not me.
Go along to get along. That's what they're trying to do. And it's only going to get worse from here. It's only going to get worse.
This retard will never go down. How about that
They're
one?
not going to stop there. Trump is going to try to make every corner of the media cower in front of him.
You will never make me cower,
Many of them
ever.
many of them are already doing it. Many of them will do it willingly.
I will make
Many of
you
them will
all
do it
cower in fear
begrudgingly.
instead.
And the best of them might just try to fall back on some both sidesism, right? Some false equivalence. And that's going to be the way that they try to fucking, stay out of King Joffrey's ire, is to just do some both side shit. But nowhere in the realm of the conversation is going to be just the truth, right? And unfortunately, you got to go to political outlets like this one in order to get the truth. And that's a fucking shame. YouTube outlets like this one. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous if that's where you have to go to get the real truth. But that's where we're heading. There's no doubt about it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor.
So, yeah, guys, what do you guys say about that? Trump trying to put bias monitors on CBS and all of them, which is illegal. And end of discussion.
Sure, they never criticized Trump.
And I'll say this again. Imagine when Democrats win and they try to do this with Fox, how much crazy meltdown you would have over it. Maybe you should shut up and just know your place. How about that one? Stupid idiot.
Yep.
Alright, so now, on to the next topic after the retard one.
Yep. Hey, back, thank you. And now there's an NFL shooting, apparently. What on earth happened here?
So, apparently a few days ago, there was a shooting in New York City. And the shooter died, and I think he killed 3 people as well. And it turns out from his, note they wrote down that he was actually trying to attack the NFL headquarters. So, an attack on the NFL itself. So, of course, That's Good Sports, which is one of the NFL people I watched, did a video on this. Although it was a few days ago, so maybe new details came out recently. But I figured this would be good enough to learn why would someone try to shoot up the NFL headquarters. That seems a little odd. So let's get into this, shall we?
Pure evil came to the heart of our city.
4 people are dead, including an NYPD officer, after a gunman opened fire inside a Manhattan office building yesterday.
Yes, there was a shooting in downtown Manhattan yesterday, and the gunman was apparently targeting the NFL headquarters. 4 people are dead because of the attack. 1 man was seriously injured and remains in critical condition. 4 other people sustained minor injuries attempting to flee the scene. I saw this story start to break on Twitter last night, and at first it wasn't clear if the NFL headquarters were the intended target. Obviously in Manhattan, you've got big buildings with multiple businesses on different floors, all within the same building, but the shooter, who is now dead, left a 3-page note confirming the NFL was his target, and he requested that his brain be studied. I'll explain what happened in a somber edition of Law and Order Sports. It's very unfortunate because I was hoping to be able to use these guys for the next edition of a more lighthearted Law and Order Sports. This is Victory Parade in Kansas City.
Chaos erupted.
Oh yeah, of course, when the Chiefs won their Super Bowl last year, when someone did a shooting at their parade. That sucked.
At the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl victory parade today.
1 person was killed and 25 wounded when at least 6 people fired guns in that altercation. It's why the Chiefs were preparing alternate plans for a victory celebration had they three-peated. That never manifested because the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, lost the Super Bowl in horrific fashion. And many people are still questioning how they even got to the Super Bowl in the first place, calling them the most embarrassing losers in Super Bowl history. A true disgrace to the game of football, with clamoring to have the Chiefs relegated to the UFL. Those aren't my words, by the way, just the words.
They are the worst 15-win team ever
when referencing that Super Bowl. Now, the shooting in Kansas City occurred because of a confrontation between a bunch of young, dumb people. That obviously doesn't make it any better, but the shooting that just happened in New York City was a planned attack, so it's different. The gunman didn't know what floor to go to, got on the wrong elevators, but it was a planned attack, and this was the report from Fox News.
A gunman pulled right up here in Park Avenue, got out of his BMW after he drove all the way here from Nevada, we're told, had an AR under his arm and walked into that office building behind me. He fired tons of bullets. 4 people are dead this morning, including a woman who worked at Blackstone. They're saying that she was a huge member of their community. Her family is obviously grieving. It's just a sad situation. And then we know the NYPD officer was also shot. His name is Didarel Islam. He's 36 years old. He was working off-duty security at the building.
Many of the details of what transpired were relayed to the public from New York Police Department Commissioner Jessica Tisch. This is how she described what happened.
The shooter entered the lobby, turned right, and immediately opened fire on an NYPD officer. He then shoots a woman who took cover behind a pillar and proceeds through the lobby, spraying it with gunfire. He makes his way to the elevator bank, where he shoots a security guard.
Officials say the suspect, wearing body armor, then went to the elevator where a woman was getting out. He allowed her to get away unharmed. He then rode to the 33rd floor to the offices of Rudin Management, the owner of the building. There he allegedly walked the floor, firing rounds, striking and killing a woman, before police say he turned the gun on himself. Police releasing this image of the weapon.
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell sent the statement to NFL employees Following the shooting, he wrote, "As has been widely reported, a gunman committed an unspeakable act of violence in our building, 345 Park Avenue. One of our employees was seriously injured in this attack. He is currently in the hospital and in stable condition." Diana Rossini had more details about that employee. She tweeted, "Craig Clementi, an employee in the league's finance department, was struck in the back by a bullet during Monday night's shooting. There is a belief that the bullet may have ricocheted before hitting him. Remarkably, the man, who had recently welcomed a new baby, was on the phone with other NFL employees at the time, warning them to stay safe and evacuate the building. He continued to make calls even while he was taken to the hospital by ambulance." Goodell also noted that there would be an increased security presence at the league's offices in the days and weeks to come. Multiple news outlets released photos of barricades employees in the building made to block the doorways to their offices in an attempt to keep the shooter out. It's horrifying, and I feel for everyone who was in that building. The reason this all happened is because the shooter believed he had CTE, which he would have sustained while playing high school football. Not college ball, not in the NFL, but high school football. The shooter, Shane Tamura, took his own life and left a 3-page note in his wallet or pocket. One page of the note found in Tamura's pocket accused the NFL of concealing the dangers to players' brains to maximize profits. That's been pretty well documented.
Yep,
thanks
we've
to Will
covered before.
Smith
The NFL's done it for decades.
Exactly, which is
Because of that movie and all of the reporting about the league and concussions and the lawsuits that were filed and settled roughly a decade ago, the league is pretty transparent about the dangers of head trauma now. It's a big reason the Guardian cap is a mainstay at training camp. It's why we have the blue medical tent and why there are standards around concussions and when players can return to the field after sustaining them. It's not perfect, but it's worth mentioning that the league has changed in many ways to mitigate head trauma as much as possible. The second page found mentioned CTE and blamed football. The third page asked, "Study my brain, please. I'm sorry," sources said. And I don't think a hollower sorry could have been written than that. CTE is very real, and we've seen the horrific effects it's had on former players who did play when the NFL covered up the severity of repeated concussions. Former players Junior Seau, Terry Long, and Dave Durson all took their own lives, and all were dealing with significant problems associated with CTE and cognitive brain function. The shooter was dealing with mental health issues. It was reported he had medication in his car for that very thing.
He did have a documented mental health history, and we're learning that police in Las Vegas had 2 calls in recent years associated with Tamura for a person in mental health distress. The NYPD found what sources described as a rambling, 3-page handwritten note that claimed he suffered from traumatic brain injury.
Whether or not he was suffering from CTE remains to be seen, but that's kind of irrelevant when 4 people lost their lives. When an entire office building of workers now has to deal with the trauma of living through an active shooting situation. Trying to logically wrap your own head around why someone who is struggling with all of this would inflict this type of violence on other innocent people who have really nothing to do with why they're struggling is a fruitless exercise. I think former NFL official Gene Steratore kind of tweeted the thing that was on my mind. Everyone deserves to feel safe when they go into work. Thinking of everyone in the NFL family today, don't allow these unacceptable events to become normal. We are better than that, and it isn't the future that we want to leave our kids.
Except conservatives.
Right. When I saw this news
because this is the sort of thing they love.
I wasn't surprised or shocked. I've seen this shit happen so many times now, I'm sort of desensitized to it. I have no idea how a guy with a giant gun like this just walks into a building. We know the first person he killed was the off-duty police officer who was serving as security in that building.
He was off-duty working security for the building. He leaves behind 2 young kids and a wife pregnant with their 3rd child.
He died as he lived, a hero.
It's tragic, and nothing about it makes sense to me. If you want more football news, I posted yesterday about a lot of what's happening around the league and training camp right now, but my heart goes out to everyone who was involved in this situation, to the victims, and come back later in the week for some more NFL-specific and lighthearted
Yep, because preseason
episodes.
just started last night. Let's go! So, what do you guys say about that? A shooter in New York going after the NFL.
What the fuck?
But of course, we can't deny, yep, the NFL has denied concussions for decades and such.
AFL, it's been the same for the AFL.
All sports leagues probably have done that in some regard too. I'm sure the NHL would do. NHL
motorsport has seen some issues with that.
NHL probably does the same thing because they deal with concussions too. So yeah, that's just very unfortunate. And speaking of the NFL, we got another NFL topic to cover. As our next one is...
That would be... Give me a second. NFLPA corruption scandal.
I'm sure you don't know what the NFLPA is.
Nope. No clue.
They're the Players Association, so like the union for players.
Okay.
So, of course, like NFL players, like all athletes and workers, not, or at least most of them should, they have unions not to protect the players' interests and such. Well, apparently there's been a massive scandal recently that's full of corruption, apparently, to the point where a whole bunch of them of the main people in the NFLPA resigned recently. So, I was quite curious about it, and I haven't seen this video yet from, once again, That's Good Sports. So, let's find out what's going on with the NFLPA about all these resignations and all that, and all this corruption stuff. So, here we go.
It's a clown show, man. The whole thing.
They might not have even known Tootsie's was a strip club. Maybe they thought they were going to a restaurant.
I said, are you kidding me?
Move your tits! I'm trying to show my graph!
Of all the reasons the executive director of the NFLPA resigned, Lloyd Howell, going to strip clubs for player engagement is one I stand by.
Company morale is a big thing, and improving the PA needs to improve their morale.
If a union leader can't expense his strip club visits, that's an America I don't want to live in. And let's be honest, the Players Union already sounds like a great name for a strip club, and I want to invest in it. Torre is an actual real-life journalist in the classic sense of the word. He's not a clicks guy. He puts in work, he investigates, and provides a counterbalance to the unchecked power and corruption within massive institutions. He's a modern-day Woodrow or Bernstein, and this is his Watergate.
How much can you tell me about Deep Throat?
Not a lot of those guys exist anymore. Pablo is a thorn in the side of the NFL and NFLPA, and that's a rare and extremely valuable role to play, especially in 2025 when journalism usually refers to newsbreakers who are in bed with the leagues they cover. Pablo's reporting and investigation shed light on misconduct and an extremely powerful entity and led to swift change in leadership. I'm going to give you a little synopsis on the recent scandal surrounding the NFL Players Association, why they failed the players, and why its top leaders are now dropping like flies, and why this is the most important decision the players will make as a collective before the next collective bargaining agreement. I'm Brandon Perna. This is That's Good Sports, where... down, Pablo,
of course, Adam Pre-Sure
I'm
start
coming
off with.
for you, Pablo, and I will be on the side. Have ripple effects on the league's future. On July 17th, Lloyd Howell stepped down as the executive director after revelation surfaced that he had billed the union for visits to strip clubs. Expenses described as player engagement events.
Yeah, really, a strip club is player engagement. Yeah,
player
sure.
engagement event. And boy, did they. These included trips to venues in Miami and Atlanta, two of the great strip club capitals of America. Although he should have been fired for not including a stop in Tampa and Las Vegas. But I digress. Howell's situation was also complicated by his consulting role at the Carlyle Group, a private equity firm approved to invest in NFL team ownership, which obviously opens up a Pandora's box of conflicts of interest.
Once I found out that Lloyd Howell is working on the side for the Carlyle Group, which is in bed with the arch enemy of the NFL Players Association, I said, are you kidding me?
The ability for owners to allow private equity funds to buy stakes in teams was passed last August. That was a huge change in the NFL's philosophy. Gee, I wonder how that got passed.
Making the rounds, talking to owners, and would mention private equity. I got a polite hell no.
That is, in fact, sound of Lloyd Howell just saying, yeah, when I talk to NFL owners about private equity and whether they would accept private equity, they say hell no. Is this not the literal problem?
So they have some very reputable firms in the mix, which is encouraging.
Lloyd Howell's shouting out some very reputable firms that are in the mix. What firms could those be?
I'm surprised you didn't say including the Carlyle Group.
I am an operating executive at Carlyle Group. I do understand enough to be dangerous when it comes to private equity.
The crazy news is that after Lloyd resigned from his top spot at the NFLPA, he also resigned from his consulting job with the Carlyle Group. Now, if you've been keeping up with this saga, you'll know that Lloyd Howell was hired by the NFLPA in a very suspect process. There was essentially no vetting of Howell, and as Pablo Torre
that sounds very sussy.
Around, Howell was involved in a scandal in his previous role at Booz Allen Hamilton.
This Booz Allen thing, the largest fraud settlement anybody can remember in American history, $377 million.
No word if he was also boozing out at the strip clubs on the company's dime there. But just days later, former Browns offensive lineman J.C. Tretter, who had recently been appointed the union's chief strategy officer and formerly served as its president, also announced that he is stepping down. Tretter said the timing was wrong, the environment too politicized, and the stress too much for his family. He withdrew from consideration for interim executive director, and stated he no longer had anything left to give after trying to support the union. Tretter came out recently in a sit-down interview and said that he was unaware of the NFLPA's deal to keep a collusion ruling against the NFL secret.
When he did not get a guaranteed contract, I texted D and I called him a loser. And I called him a wuss. I was upset in that moment because I felt like we were missing an opportunity to get guaranteed contracts. If I knew the league was colluding against Russell, I would apologize because I would know there was factors outside his control.
Nobody knew about this shit, really. That is, until Pablo Torre uncovered that 61-page document that revealed the league's general counsel was urging owners to keep players' salaries non-fully guaranteed, specifically quarterbacks.
The 61-page arbitration ruling was to be shared only with league and
pretty
union
sure
lawyers
that's illegal by NFL's rules too.
Executives, while the NFLPA considered its next legal move. End quote.
The idea that Tretter was
that sounds like would almost undermine the salary cap.
A lie, or B, means he was kept in the dark about a really important matter, and the result of either one of those outcomes should have led to him stepping down, which of course he now has done. Now, the chaos swirling around this whole thing has also raised questions about the union's internal transparency and governance. I hope you're sitting down for this. Unions can be a little corrupt sometimes.
Only Jimmy Hoffa can
It's
rejoice
unfortunate.
with his continued good luck. Honest
But they're
union
still
members
needed.
And the general public can only regard it as a tragedy.
Show me Jimmy Hoffa's body! Show me where Jimmy Hoffa is buried, I say! He was a famous corrupt union leader for the young folks watching.
Snap of a finger, no trucks are moving, nothing's getting shipped cross country, shut down because Jimmy Hoffa wants it. That's a lot of power to wield, and he wielded that power like a blunt instrument.
That wasn't even Howell's funniest move. The coolest, and I mean coolest, shit he did was reportedly he had the Union Facilities Department in their parking garage merge 2 parking spaces into one big space for his very cool Porsche Cayenne Turbo. The spaces were originally numbered 10 and 11, and he asked them to have the number changed to, wait for it, wait for it, 32, to pay homage to O.J. Simpson. I know what you're thinking. Brandon, you just stole that last line from an old Norm Macdonald bit. No, this is real. This is real. And a man who still worships O.J. Simpson is actually the perfect guy to head the NFL Players Union because, as a player, there is literally nothing you could do that would make that guy blink an eye, bat an eye, whatever. Even if you secretly love OJ, you tell people you picked 32 because of Marcus Allen, Jim Brown, Franco Harris, pick fucking Tajay Spears for all I care. Literally any other player. The secretive hiring process that led to Howell's appointment and the lack of disclosure regarding his past legal issues and outside consulting gigs is a major red flag for the NFLPA. Withheld information about a collusion grievance and questionable expense reports are a pretty damning insight to what's going on inside the union and maybe gives you an idea of why the Players Association gets routinely dog-walked by the league when it's time to
it
sit
does
down
seem to
and
make sense
bargain
now.
every single cycle. They're a neutered fucking union's what I'm saying. In the wake of these resignations, the NFLPA Executive Committee is now tasked with naming an interim director who can help restore confidence. Former linebacker Don Davis and Zamir Cobb are among the rumored candidates. Their job will be to rebuild trust, oversee a more open selection process, and prove that the union can effectively represent players in the face of owner pressure. And that's a really important thing for these players. They need representation as labor for the league when it comes to getting fair treatment. Especially when we know in the past that owners have colluded to keep their wages down, with a little nudge, nudge, wink, wink from the NFL's general counsel. While these things might seem like internal drama, they have real-world consequences for the players. The NFLPA's ability to negotiate fair terms on salary guarantees, safety measures, season length, and more depends on strong, credible leadership, something that was clearly non-existent with the last NFLPA head. Players and agents pay dues to be in the union, and as we know now, the money they were pitching in was going straight into a G-string at the Spearmint Rhino. Again, something I support.
Nothing wrong with going to a titty bar. Some hard-working women in there, and they got bills to pay.
But you're not supposed to be using the money for that, though? Or at least I would assume that would not be a smart thing to do. I guess it's just me.
I went to a strip club.
That's not
for women.
legit.
I always went to strip clubs for guys.
What? And that's probably the tamest part of this entire fiasco. The real problem is that their leadership was taking them for fools, keeping them in the dark and violating their trust. At the end of the day, the people that were supposed to represent them worked against their best interests. End of story. All of this could potentially lead to legal action against Treader, maybe Howell. The NFLPA needs strong leadership when it comes time to negotiate a new collective bargaining agreement with the NFL, and the current one is set to expire in 6 years. When the union and the league sit down to negotiate, that's when a bunch of things change, like practice rules, the length of the schedule, player safety rules, even smaller stuff like players getting to wear different uniform numbers. It's a huge event that happens once every decade or so, shapes the next 10 years, and if the players go in without a strong leader or leaders to negotiate, they're going to get fucked in 2031 and somehow be playing an 82-game schedule like the NBA. If you recall, the NFL started
They'll be playing a game every day if the people at the top have their way.
And they'll all be dead within the week.
The 18-game season happened before the next CBA, which we should have all said that's insane. There's no way you can make that change now. But I believe the NFL was banking on guys like Lloyd Howell and J.C. Treader to make that happen through the NFLPA. That's me conjecturing, but you don't start floating that idea if you don't think you can get it wiggled through. I think maybe the most true thing said about this entire situation, though, came from Dominique Foxworth. He referenced how the people in power aren't smarter than us.
One of the things that I learned from CBA negotiations, they aren't smarter than us. Because of like jargon, you start to think that we need somebody else who understands this because this is too complicated for me. It's not. Like, the power of unions come from being able to, or being willing to sacrifice. That willingness to sacrifice comes from the very bottom rung all the way to the top, being involved in every step of the process that they can be involved in, so they walk away feeling confident in the plan. When you're looking at a work stoppage or some unfortunate outcome, all you have is the faith and confidence that you have in each other and in yourself.
Now that sounds like an easy thing to understand or know, but I think everyone gets to a point in life where they realize most people are just trying to get by. And yes, there are tons of smart people who work incredibly hard and possess vast amounts of knowledge in their respective fields. But I'd say over the last decade, I've had many professional interactions where I've been asking myself, shouldn't that guy know more about this thing than I do? The other key thing he said is the power of unions come with being willing to sacrifice. The NFLPA has never been willing to sacrifice anything to achieve what they want. And Howell and Treader were there to keep that par for the course.
Major League Baseball players went on strike 5 times. So they canceled an entire postseason and World Series because the owners were trying to put a salary cap in place. I think back to the Sean Connery line from Untouchables. What are you prepared to do? Absolutely. Are you prepared to go on strike? If you really want to dig in your
mean, they did in the 80s, and look how it worked for them.
Players is going to do that.
Now, none of this shit comes to light without Pablo Torre being an absolute nuisance of a journalist. And I mean that in the best way possible.
Is it the summer of Pablo Torre? It might be the summer of Pablo.
He's also collaborating on this with Mike Florio, and whatever you think of Mike Florio, he's a former liar who knows his stuff and has always been openly critical of the NFL and its dealings in ways that I think other media personalities are afraid to or simply not allowed to do.
Lloyd Howell. I had never heard of him. He comes from a business background. Booz Allen Hamilton. This doesn't sound like a union leader. This sounds like a member of management. If the NFL was going to try to slip someone through unknowingly who would be in bed with the owners, this sounds like the dude.
They're basically together the Woodward and Bernstein of this operation. I'm not sure who Deep Throat is. Maybe that was one of the strippers in Miami.
But I think I see a lot of lawbreakers up in this house.
In the most fundamental sense. We need real, trained journalists to investigate shady inner dealings within massive institutions and bring them to light for the public to see so corrupt individuals can be held accountable and changes can be made for the better, right? There's a saying that sunlight is the best disinfectant, and that was really the case here.
I returned to Scooby-Doo, and they would have gotten away with it if not for those meddling kids.
Without this work from Torre, Florio, Lloyd Howell, and J.C. Treader are still incompetently and corruptly leading the players like the sheep to the slaughter against the juggernaut that is the National Football League and its collective of billionaire owners. Who I side with, by the way? I side with the billionaire owners. To be clear, Mr. Goodell, if you want Pablo to go away, I know a guy. All I ask is that you let me live stream the Broncos games. Let me show him, Goodell. I think if Pablo Torre really wanted to and put his mind to it, he could get the Epstein list. He'd probably end up face down.
That'd make Trump very mad.
But I truly believe he could pull it off. He's an absolute
Then again, everything
makes
Trump mad, remember?
Yeah,
because his existence is fake
journalists
news.
of the 21st century. He was gaining a
He's
lot of
mad he can't make good manga like me, remember?
attention for
He's mad he can't make good
George
anything.
Hudson story, and that brought a lot of eyeballs to his podcast.
Except
But at
get
the end of the
real
day,
people to
that
make
just built him an
amazing
audience that allowed
takedowns of
to
him.
drop a bomb
Matt and
on the
Trey.
NFLPA. If Bill Simmons
Yes.
could probably call him out for being a muckraker with regards to Belichick, I don't know if Torre gets this story on the
here we
union.
go.
Truly a sliding doors moment, to borrow a phrase from the sports
Ow.
guy's lexicon. Thank you, Pablo. Keep
So yeah, what do you guys say about that? NFLPA corruption scandal. So let's see. Paying money for stuff that should not have any relevance whatsoever to the organization. A strange secret way of how you got into the position. And potentially undermine the NFLPA when the CBA comes up and such. As they always historically, NFLP has been very weak when it comes to arguing for CBA and protecting the players and such. So, yeah, we got to say about that.
That's pretty rough.
Yep. Hopefully they get that resolved in the next few years before the CBA comes up again.
Hopefully.
It would be fun to not have to deal with another potential lockout again like in 2011. Just saying, people. All right, and now we're down to the final topic.
Yep, and that is an update to the Russo-Ukraine war.
Yep, and a little bit of a different angle on this. Instead of like covering what's actually going on, we're actually going to cover Adam Something's video recently where he talked about like what's going on between Ukraine and Russia, like when it comes to manpower and logistics and support and stuff like that. Since that hasn't been really covered that much. And I just saw this video earlier today and I decided that this had to be brought up. So let's get into this.
This video is sponsored by Proton Mail. It's been a while since I made my last video about the Ukraine war, but recent events have prompted me to do a new one. With Republicans back in power in the US, the equation has changed quite a bit. Or did it? What are the outlooks for Ukraine in this war, going on for 3.5 years at this point? Will Russia ever run out of hardware and men? These are some of the questions I'll be trying to answer, in a neat, organized presentation style. First, let's take a look at the current situation on the front line. Chances are you haven't heard news of large battlefield movements or the taking or retaking of cities. And that's because not much has been happening on the front line lately, at least not much new. So far in 2025, Russia has managed to take over a couple thousand square kilometers, distributed mostly evenly along the massive front line. While that does sound like a lot, remember that the internationally recognized territories of Ukraine make up around 603,000 square kilometers. So at this rate, Russia will conquer the full territory of Ukraine in about 2 centuries. A further point to consider.
Yeah, that's how slow the progress is even slower than it once was. Now at the rate, it's going to take 200 years to take over all of Ukraine. That's why it's so tiring when Russian bots keep saying like,
keep pushing it this right. If we, they're like, we made this much progress, and if we keep going, it'll be. I think it was like 2018 when they reached Berlin, and it was going to be like a billion. They were going to lose like 1 billion people.
Yeah, like that's why we keep telling you all. When they keep talking about how much territory they gain. The territory is so little and they're taking so many casualties that no, it's not that impressive. It's a Pyrrhic victory. And that's honestly probably an insult to Pyrrhic victories.
Is that Russia is pressing forward at such a glacial pace in areas that are mostly flat and open. No mountains, no block-by-block urban warfare, just flat, open fields where current advances are measured in villages and tree lines. Additionally, the more time passes, the more time Ukrainians will have to build and strengthen defensive lines. So if Russia can barely advance now on relatively easy terrain, how would they fare on the difficult terrain? But let's imagine a scenario where somehow Ukrainian defensive lines collapse in the east, and Russia takes over the entire territory. Well, congratulations, now you only need to take over large cities like Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Dnipro and Poltava, in addition to having to cross a large river and a swamp area. Or you can try pushing forward south of Kharkiv, by which you'll have shrunk the front line to half, allowing Ukrainians to concentrate their defenses. Then, if you manage to break through those defenses, your reward will be a block-by-block urban warfare in multiple cities with pre-war sizes ranging between
room by room, and you're going to lose like 5 people a room.
That, you'll have.
And you remember what happened when they attacked Bakhmut and Avdiivka? How long that took? Yep. How many casualties took? And was it worth in the end? All no.
Taken over 1/3 of Ukraine. But could Russia somehow get a second wind, accumulating men and hardware, and just go for it after all? With that,
like this Russian offense has been going the last several months, and how much territory they've been taking over? Very little, and thousands and tens of thousands of dead troops.
Ukrainian capacity to sustain the war. Though much of the information here is a state secret, we are still able to get a rough picture of what's happening. But just like how it's important to keep sensitive military data secure, you should do the same with your private correspondence. This is where today's sponsor, Proton Mail, comes in.
And sorry, Adam, something no ads. We're here for the video.
Function. You can have 1 million men, but if you can't equip them, you can't really use them. Or you can have 1 million tanks, but if you can't man them, they're just inert hunks of metal. In terms of manpower, Ukraine still has significant resources. The draft age has not been lowered below 25, meaning if the need arises, they can train and equip hundreds of thousands more. They want to avoid this for now, since it's not a great idea to lose your youngest adult generation in a war, especially in a country with serious population decline. Another factor helping Ukraine here is that they are on the defensive, which generally means less casualties, in addition to fighting a war for their existence, so if push comes to shove, a lot more people would pick up arms if need be. Also, Ukraine's heavy reliance on FPV drones does seem to compensate for manpower shortages, since now if you want to clear a trench, a building, flying, or if you want to stop advancing Russian infantry, instead of sending out 30 dudes, you can just fly a few dozen FPV drones at them from a distance. So all in all, the Ukrainian manpower situation is not great, but not terrible either. Russia, on the other hand, is increasingly in a difficult situation. In September 2022, Putin attempted a partial mobilization, which resulted in hundreds of thousands fleeing the country, and the situation threatened with an actual public backlash. Russian society is thoroughly atomized and low trust, enough so that most people don't mind the meat grinder in Ukraine swallowing more and more of their fellow countrymen. However, the moment they get involved personally, against their will, like through mobilization, that seems to constitute the red line for most. Therefore, Putin is keen on exhausting every single other option before even considering another mobilization. And so their methods have been very creative. The army recruited in prisons, homeless shelters, impoverished regions with high joblessness, and has been trying hard to push conscripts into the battlefield despite it being illegal. The new method, according to the Systema research project, is to recruit people as volunteers, basically as mercenaries whose contracts do not automatically renew at the end of a year's service or less, as opposed to regular military contracts that automatically renew until the end of the war. So the non-renewing contract is used to lure people in who are on the fence, who are enticed by the pay but are turned off by the indefinite contract. But this also has a side effect. Apparently, such soldiers are treated as second-rate. If a Ukrainian defensive position needs to be stormed in a so-called
guess who's going
in first? And in one of such mercenary programs, the one that promises the most flexibility, you basically operate in a legal gray zone and do not have access to any support like rehabilitation or a pension after your service. This, of course, puts a heavy toll on your population, leaving thousands of working-age men by the roadside, disabled and traumatized. But for Russia, this seems to be the high cost of manning their formations without a mobilization. So both Russia and Ukraine are holding on for now in terms of manpower and are trying not to cross their red lines, mobilizing below the age of 25 for Ukraine and a general mobilization for Russia. If both were to happen though, Russia would be at a far greater risk of backlash, while Ukraine is kept relatively safe from it due to fighting a defensive war. With that in mind, let's take a look at hardware. Russia has been churning out missiles and drones at a very high rate, and has launched about 20,000 at Ukraine this year. In terms of surface hardware, however, the situation is not looking great. What we're mostly looking for here are tanks and other AFVs. And according to Covert Cabal's numbers, based on satellite images, Russian tanks at storage bases are down from about 6,100 in 2022 to about half, 3,300 in 2024. Meanwhile, AFVs are down from around 7,400 to about 4,000. So both categories pretty much halved. What Covert Cabal additionally points out, however, is if we subtract vehicles in a terrible state, so ones that look like scrap even from orbit, the number of tanks and AFVs in storage both crater to about 1,000 each. And this is after adjusting for vehicles that might have been unseen inside.
Imagine only having potentially 1,000 tanks and AMVs left.
At all. So when will they run out, one might ask?
That's
In
brutal.
warfare, there is no such thing as running out, so to speak, because Russia also produces new vehicles, sometimes by using the racks at storage bases. It's much slower and more work-intensive than just reactivation, but they are doing it. And there is also new production from scratch, like T-90M tanks, which research by the conflict intelligence team puts it around 300 per year. But since Russia has been losing about 1,000 tanks per year, that just won't cut it seems. So there will always be a flow of vehicles to the front lines, only when the storages empty out, this flow will be much smaller. There will likely never come a point where we stop seeing Russian armored vehicles on the battlefield, but their numbers will gradually decline over time as storages empty out. That means Russia will not be able to fight at the same pace as it did so far, potentially giving Ukrainians opportunities to hit back. With that, what about Ukraine? In terms of AFVs and tanks, they are doing decently. Of course, they could always use more, but they have already gotten plenty of hardware, with a lot still in the pipeline. According to Oryx, the confirmed minimum number of deliveries are 81 aircraft, 71 helicopters, 914 tanks, 101 AFVs, 1,157 IFVs, 3,856 APCs, 1,540 MRAPs, 6,870 IMVs, 410 towed artillery, 600 SPGs, and various other hardware. And yet to be delivered as of now are 41 aircraft, 25 helicopters, 142 tanks, about 60 AFVs, 801 APCs, 300 MRAPs, 1,240 IMVs, 35 towed artillery, 194 SPGs, and others. I chose to highlight these numbers to show that Ukraine has received and still is receiving robust support from allies and will not run out of equipment anytime soon. I would also like to note that the vast majority of equipment is not cutting-edge Western stuff. It's usually 30 to 40 years old or even older used hardware, much of it Soviet-made. Another important thing to remember is that NATO countries are increasing their military spending massively, which will likely free up additional used hardware for Ukraine to use. So Ukraine will be reasonably well supplied for the foreseeable future, except in one area, air defense. Ukraine currently operates 8 Patriot batteries. According to Zelensky, they would need about 25. Russian ballistic missiles continue to be a severe threat against which Patriots excel. But to put that number of 25 into perspective, there are 186 Patriots in the world in total. There is also
so like 1/8 they would need, or 1/9.
PAC-2 missiles are enough, which are also produced in Europe. However, against ballistic missiles, you need the PAC-3, which is only produced by the US at a rate of about 600 per year. And Ukraine is not the only one standing in line for them. Also, US support for Ukraine continues to be in question. For a brief period, the US halted deliveries, saying they had to review their stocks. This is at the end of a long line of anti-Ukraine sentiment, including calling Zelensky a dictator and the infamous Oval Office meeting. But just a few days ago, Trump seems to have taken a complete 180 and is now fully in support of Ukraine, apparently. This is good news, but this also means that the US can't really be relied on. After all, what if Trump changes his mind again? These shifts by the Trump admin are, in my opinion, due to 3 factions within and their struggles. The old hawkish neoconservatives, who are driven by geopolitical and business considerations, versus the new Christian fascist isolationist wing, who are driven by their sympathy towards Vladimir Putin and hate towards the Western quote-unquote liberal world, which Ukraine is a part of according to them. And in the middle, there is Trump, the face and legitimizing force of the administration, who just likes it when people clap at him. He wants to make deals, score quick wins, peace agreements, and so on. And the administration will generally tip towards the position he holds, which, at the moment, is pro-Ukraine. But what if Trump capitulated to the isolationists and cut off all aid permanently? Not only that, but even sales. I don't think even such a step would cause Ukraine to collapse. Ukraine also has its own production, for example of its own SPGs and IMBs, in addition to 2 million FPV drones and 2.5 million shells per year. So even if all aid ceased Ukraine completely, it still wouldn't mean that Russia would get a free ticket for stomping Ukraine. So this is the situation.
Yeah, they can't do it because they're too damn weak.
We are currently at a slow grind along the front lines while seeing the count of casualties and destroyed hardware go up until one of the sides can no longer keep up. Aside from that, there are also potential Black Swan events which might change the situation completely. These include Ukraine getting Taurus missiles and destroying the Kerch Bridge, for example, or some unforeseen internal conflict within Russia. The point is, things will continue on like this until they don't. So for now, the best thing we can do is to keep track of events and of course elect pro-Ukraine leaders in the West in the meantime. With that, I thank you for...
Alright, so what do you guys say about Am Something's Vale and the Russo-Ukraine War? Covering like all the troop logistics and stuff like that. Very interesting, wasn't it?
Quite interesting, yeah.
So it shows that...
One of those that drags out for a very long time.
Yeah, so don't listen to pro-Russian retards who act like Ukraine's gonna lose no matter what. It's the other way around, pal. Russia has worse situations. Always remember that, people. And never let fascists win, ever. Only make them suffer. So yeah, with that, guys.
Russia further is to sanction certain bits from their allies, from all the people they're getting stuff from, which would be Iran, North Korea, China, Belarus, Kazakhstan, India, Hungary, and Armenia.
And a couple of those, Putler wants to take over very soon afterwards, remember. Looking at you, Armenia and Kazakhstan. And, oh yeah, Belarus too.
We know that Moldova and Georgia are next after Ukraine.
Yep. So yeah, guys, never give up. And with that, guys, that is going to wrap up the episode here. See you all next time for episode 135.